Hello viewers, so the second of 2 expansions is finally out. It's the Lego expansion. So let's give it a review. Let's go over my thoughts on how good it is, how bad it is, whether or not it's worth your hard-earned cash. Now when we first saw this Lego expansion at E3, I was actually very open to the idea of it, and you only have to really look back at Hot Wheels to kind of show you a wacky idea that can actually translate into a good experience. So I was very open to the idea of Lego being a good DLC. But let's see if that is the case. So this is the second expansion as part of the Ultimate Edition. If not, you're going to be paying $20. So it's pretty much the same price as most Forza Horizon DLCs. And what do you get for your money? So the map, let's talk about the map first of course. So you've got a separate map made of Lego. Although when I say made of Lego, it's kind of half Lego, half not Lego. So it did have this weird kind of mixture of reality and Lego. So obviously some of the places were completely Lego, where you had the city in the centre, but then lots of the other places weren't Lego. So you had maybe the beach, which was just normal, but then it had like Lego boats and ships and whatever. So there was a kind of a weird half and half mix between reality and Lego, which did kind of take away a little bit. I think it may have been better to go completely Lego, but that might have been overkill, maybe, I don't know. But either way, it kind of had a weird kind of vibe sometimes when you're racing real cars, and this is when we can get onto the cars because there's only 3 Lego cars being added. So even though it was a Lego expansion, a lot of the time it didn't feel completely Lego because there weren't many Lego cars. It wasn't racing many Lego cars. So there are 3 cars, the Mini, the Ferrari F40 and the McLaren Senna, and the way that they modelled these cars actually is pretty good, and I actually really enjoyed driving the 3 of them. It's just unfortunately 3 cars I don't think is really quite enough. I think ideally you're going to want at least 7 or 8, maybe more than 10 of these cars. And of course they're not completely new cars because those cars are in the base game in their normal form, and then they're just being sort of translated into Lego form. Now something that I think they missed out on for this whole Lego idea is that, well, Lego is really about creativity and kind of building it your own way and just kind of building what you want or having the freedom to build. And I think with the cars they could have really done a lot of customization work where you could kind of customize different parts of Lego onto your car. So I think they missed a trick there, and it kind of translates over into the story mode, if you want to call it the story mode, where you're kind of essentially playing through a load of events to build up your brick count. And then once you reach a certain amount of bricks, the helicopter will come along and just drop a new piece onto your house build. And you wasn't really contributing to it. You wasn't really having any say over the build or anything. So on paper, you were essentially just playing through a big sheet of events just to build up your brick count. So this screen with all the different events where you can possibly get bricks is something a little bit different. And normally when I'm playing these expansions, you're looking for something a little bit unique, a little bit different. And I think this screen where you can pick a different event to do, or a different little challenge to do, this did provide something a little bit new and different. And I did actually quite enjoy playing through some of these. They're actually a bit of a challenge. Most of them were fairly simple once you got the right car and the right tune and you knew where you were going. For example, you had to get in a certain car and go from one place to another in a certain amount of time, or smash X amount of objects, or smash X amount of objects in this amount of time. So there was actually a bit of challenge there, trying to work out where the places are or what the item looks like on the map. And then you had the alien cells, alien plants. So they've got this kind of mini story where the aliens have crashed on the Lego island and you have to collect the pieces. A little bit too simple maybe, because you just drive anywhere within maybe 100 metres of any of the pieces and they kind of just appear on the map anyway. So it wasn't too much of a challenge. But some of the challenges on the sort of the challenge menu were actually very difficult. Some of them were actually very, very, very challenging. And in total, you're looking to try and get 15,000 bricks, essentially. That's kind of the main objective of the whole thing. And then you unlock the final LEGO Champions event. So you got this Hype Tour event, which it was kind of just a little bit too simple. And it felt like a bit of a time filler, to be honest. You're just driving across the map to then just do a very small challenge. It didn't really feel like full, wholesome, hearty content. It just felt like just drive here for 5 minutes and just waste a load of time. And you got through those quite quickly and easily. And maybe easy is kind of an overall trend of this DLC. It was a little bit too simple in many occasions. Of course, when you're doing the Horizon events, you can just set the difficulty to unbeatable. And another thing I noticed about the single player was that some of the Horizon events would simply be reverse circuits. So you do a race and then you drive very close by to another race, and it would just be the same track but just backwards. So you get another idea there that a lot of the content was a little bit sort of filler or a little bit repeated. But ultimately, a lot of the other challenges were actually very simple to do, especially the ones like driving from one place to the other in this X amount of time. Mostly quite easy to do, although some of them did provide some trouble, which was a welcome relief. Now, something that tickled me a little bit from Fortune Island was the lack of multiplayer, or lack of proper multiplayer. So of course on this expansion you can still invite all your friends and then set up events privately, but there was no actual public hoppers, if you like, that the base game has. This was something that Fortune Island had, and I think that was a problem, and unfortunately that carries over into this DLC. So the replay value is somewhat limited based on that. Once you complete it, there's not a million reasons to come back and play it much more. And that's something that plagued Fortune Island, because I completed it and there wasn't really much reason to kind of stay there and play it a little bit more. I think multiplayer would have solved that problem. So in terms of time, how long does it take? I think Racing Monkey did a playthrough and you can do it in less than 10 hours. But I think realistically, if you're just doing it at a casual, leisurely pace, then you can look at more like 15 to 25 or 15 to 20 hours of gameplay. And to be fair, for the amount you're paying, I think that's actually not too bad. I did enjoy playing through this on the most part. I think the challenges were fairly decent, something a little bit different. But ultimately, it felt a little bit hollow, the whole LEGO experience. I don't think they quite executed this one as well as the Hot Wheels expansion back on Horizon 3. I think that expansion was very, very good, and it kind of hit home very well with the fact that you got driving up these big orange ramps, and the whole Hot Wheels idea was actually sold quite well. But in this one, I don't think the whole LEGO idea was actually conveyed brilliantly. It's still fun to play through. A lot of the events were still fun and enjoyable, and a challenge. A lot of it was easy, but some of them were a challenge. The whole idea of LEGO wasn't quite captured in the way that it could have been. There wasn't enough sort of personal customization options. It was kind of just, on paper, it was just essentially a grind to get 15,000 bricks, and there wasn't much else beyond that. I'll still say it's worth buying, especially if you've got kids or if you are a kid yourself. I think this DLC would be especially suited to kids. Not that adults wouldn't like it, but I think kids would especially love this DLC, and I think they'd really enjoy it a lot more. I think it's much more suited to a younger audience. I think there may well be a few disappointed people here, because some, buying the Ultimate Edition expecting that second expansion to be something a little bit more real, you could say. So looking for some more real cars with a theme, I don't know, something like rallycross cars, or I don't know, something along those lines. And to have it as LEGO might be a little bit disappointing. I'll still suggest giving it a try, as I still enjoyed it. But I can see both sides of the coin for this one. I did like it, but it wasn't overwhelmingly brilliant. I wouldn't like to normally give a score, but I'd say a 7 out of 10, kind of good, but not overwhelmingly amazing. It didn't particularly blow my mind in the same way that some of the older expansions did, like Hot Wheels or Blizzard Mountain, you could even say. But those are just my thoughts. Please let me know if you have any questions. Let me know your thoughts as well. Did you enjoy this expansion, or should it be sent to the LEGO realm? But there we go. Thank you so much for watching as always. Let me know your thoughts, of course. And if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing if you found this useful. Do hit the like button. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.